All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get started. Hello. Hi. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I would love for everyone to drop in the chat where they are jumping in from because I feel like we have people from all over the place here. As I was seeing everyone registering, I'm like, whoa, that number is like from a different country. So I would love to see Canada. That's awesome. Welcome, Canada. Texas. Nice. Me too. I am in Austin. Oregon, Flower Mound, Texas. I don't even know where that is. All right. Missouri, Oregon, Oregon. Awesome. So we're like spread out over the US and we got Canada, LA. Amazing. All right. So before we get started, your hometown, California. Oh, that's right. Blythe. Thank you, Adriana. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad all of you are here. Like, before we get started, I would love for everybody to just like raise your hand, cross it over, put it behind your back, and pat yourself on the back. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Just you being here tells me that you are a great parent because you really want the best for your children and you're doing the research and the work and spending your time and energy on it. So thank you for being here. This will literally not only change the way kids are raised, but the way that they interact with the world. So I really hope that you're acknowledging yourself, you're celebrating yourself for setting this time aside today. If you haven't done so already, I would love for you to come up with an intention for today if you have one. Like, what brought you here? What piqued your curiosity? And if there was one word that you could create here just by your presence alone, what would that be? If it's love, connection, calm, peace, whatever that is for you, drop it in the chat so I can see what's stewing and what's brewing. Understanding. That's beautiful. Community. Love that. Connection. Keep it going. Keep it going. All right. Well, if you haven't written it in the chat, just make sure you have one for yourself because that will really support you in the way that you absorb the information that I give you today because it will come through the lens of that intention. Peace, understanding, beautiful. Resources for parenting in our child care facility. That's right. Yes, you are. So a little bit about me, if you don't know who I am. My name is Cassidy Callan. My mission is to create an environment across the globe of safety that empowers kids to be the biggest and fullest expression of themselves and to not have a bunch of adults that have to heal from their childhood. Because I don't know about you, but that's part of my journey. And so I feel as adults, it is our responsibility to keep the light on for our kids, to empower them, to inspire them. I know that my parents did the best that they absolutely could with the tools that they had. We just have a lot more tools now. And I think that it's our responsibility, our opportunity to really learn how we can best serve them. And so I spent basically, I did my undergrad, I got my sociology degree, but then I went and got my master's in education. And I spent about 10 years in the classroom working with kids that had significant behavioral challenges. And the way that I was taught to interact with behavior was it's very black and white. It was like we are shaping behavior, we are manipulating it, we are eradicating behaviors that are problematic. And after a while, I started to feel a dissonance in my body. I was like, this is not serving them. Like, yes, on the outside, they are performing the behaviors that are more desirable, but the need is not being met, right? Because what I've come to know is that behavior, all behavior, is a clue. It's a clue as to what is happening internally that is an unmet need. It's like an iceberg, right? You see the top of the iceberg, and that's the behavior itself. But underneath the water is everything else that could be contributing to the behavior. And so I started to feel as though we were missing a big piece. And so I went and started working in emotional intelligence and personal development work and nervous system regulation, all the things. And I realized there was a huge portion that we were missing the connection. We're missing the connection, meeting them where they are. And so I basically started my own preschool. I was like, you know what? We got to do something different. So I started my own preschool, and I took total responsibility of how we were teaching kids, what we were prioritizing, like teaching them human skills first, then the academics. And what I found was kids inherently want to learn once they have the core values instilled of kindness, generosity, connection, love, peace. And so I decided, because I had been working with families on the side for so long on integrating, that I was going to shift completely once more and work primarily with families. And what is so awesome is right now we are in the middle of a massive shift in child development and the way that we are raising kids, because we are now in this narrative of looking at children as the co-creators of our transformation. Like, we truly can be the wind beneath their wings because we are in partnership with them and stepping into responsibility to do our work around our triggers. Because when your kids trigger you, it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with you and your own upbringing and your own parenting of yourself. So once we do this work, we can truly steward the greatness and uniqueness of all of our kids. And so as parents, continuing to grow and create self-awareness around all of the decisions that you make, like, why am I actually so attached to my kid doing this thing, and really getting to the source of where that comes from and why. Obviously, that's easier said than done. And so I would love for your participation on this part, because I hear a lot of things come from my clients, and I want to hear if any of these ring true for you. Okay, so raise your hand if you have heard yourself either say this out loud or think this in your brain. I am overwhelmed. There is not enough time in the day. Okay, great. Thank you, hands down. I know my parents did the best they could, but I'm so scared of repeating those patterns. Raise your hand. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you. I don't want to fuck them up. Okay, great. Excuse my language. This is all parents here, so we're good. Great. So I've spent the last 5 years coaching emotional intelligence to grownups. And what I've learned is that most of our pain as adults comes from our formative years when we were kids. And so it's the thing that we've encountered over and over again in childhood. So I want you to hear me when I say this. There's no such thing as perfection. And you cannot compare yourself to anyone else that's not you. And hear me when I say this specifically. Actually, repeat after me. I will fuck up. And my kids will have pain. But that's okay. Because I'm not the source of their pain. But I'm a resource for them to process the pain. I love seeing you guys all repeat this. Great, because listen, going through pain, learning how to transmute pain is part of what it means to be a human being. But when you're not the source of it, you can actually support them in facilitating that process. And so as parents, that's what it means to create that safe environment for them to land, for them to just be human, right? It's their job to make mistakes. It's their job to get it wrong. It's their job to push against the boundaries. And so I was born with this deep mission to serve children. Like, even when I was a kid, I was playing school and pretending to be the teacher. I've always wanted to work with kids. And so now I do that through parents, because that is the most important piece. You are more valuable in your kids' development than any teacher will ever be. You are the biggest teacher, the most impactful. And so, oops. So I'm here to take all of the knowledge that I have built and learned and absorbed and bridge that gap for you so that you don't feel overwhelmed with all of the information out there, because there is a lot of information out there. Like it's overwhelming. So I'm going to go over today the 3 main areas that I work with my clients on, because when they come to me, they tend to already be in that like, I don't know what to do. So this is where we start, okay? The first thing that we cover is a family vision, because you don't know where to go if you don't have a map. Like, you can start driving on the road, but until you put in your navigation where you're going, you're kind of just wandering aimlessly, okay? So your vision, think of your vision as your North Star, your map, your destination. It's the direction that you're going, okay? And it doesn't need to be specific, but it is your why. It's your why for your family. Like, why are you building a family? Why are you here? Why are you committed to being the best parent that you can? And why does that matter to you? So this is where, when I work with families, we spend a good chunk of time building a unique vision that reflects your values. Because a lot of the times parents want to just start fixing all the things, like all the behaviors and all of the breakdowns. And it's like, that's a doing, that's an action. But if your actions are out of alignment already with a vision for your family, then you're kind of just like running around aimlessly, feeling like, what is it? The dam is breaking and you're just kind of like patching the holes. Whereas like we can rebuild a dam. So what I would love for you to do now, if you're not driving and you can do this safely, is close your eyes. So take a deep breath in with me. Let it go. I want you to imagine yourself sometime in the future, maybe a year from now, and you have become the parent that you are so proud of being. And because of that, as a result, the family that surrounds you, the energy of the environment is so uplifting and inspiring and warm. And you're driving in your car. You're driving home at the end of the day, on the way home from, let's say, the grocery store. Imagine this, okay? You pull into the driveway, into your parking spot, whatever your situation is. And you are so excited to walk into your home because you are just so proud of the life that you've created. And you get out of your car, you walk up to your front door, you open it. And immediately your kids are running up to you, your partner, they're embracing you, they're loving on you, they're so excited that you're home. What do you feel in your body? What are the emotions that you feel swirling around? I want you to open your eyes and write that down. Maybe 3 to 5 words of what that feeling felt like for you. And if you're open, I would love for you to write it in the chat. Gratitude, peaceful, happy, peace, happiness, authentic, unconditional connection. Ooh, that's so beautiful. And so this is such a big piece because this is your why. This is your mission in your home, fulfillment, harmony. So beautiful. Because when you have a vision, it will inspire how you show up if you're present to it. Now, if you're just running around trying to solve the problems as they come, we can kind of get on automatic. But if you are present to a vision, wholeness, if you are present to what you are committed to creating, even if the environment doesn't look like that, you can be the source of it. It's called be, do, have. If you be the source of that vision, you will do things that are in alignment with that vision. You will take actions that cultivate that vision. And at some point, you will have that environment. So, and I also want you to use this as an opportunity to explore the moments that are for sure not in alignment with that. Like reflect back on moments in your parenting, moments with your kids, moments with your partner, where you were like, oof, I was not being the source of wholeness. I was not being the source of harmony, right? And not as a way to like beat yourself up, because I'm sure you do that enough already, but as an opportunity to just have awareness around it. Like, okay, so when I'm in those situations, when my kid is screaming at the top of their lungs, I get to be really present to my vision. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, okay? Something that's really fun that you can actually bring the family into with you is creating an artistic representation of this vision. And an extra credit, you can have your kids participate with you. What do they want their home to feel like? What do they want to experience when they come home? Okay. And then you can have it somewhere in your home as a physical reminder of what you guys are committed to. Because even in those moments when it's like, oof, I don't know if I can, wait, I'm committed to that. Let me try again. Because then you're modeling to your kids that, oh, sometimes we don't always take the actions we're proud of, but I can try again. I can pivot. Okay, who's excited for that? Because this is one that families actually have so much fun with. If your kids are old enough that they can participate and collaborate, it gives them also an added level of ownership. It's not, again, just some direction that mom and dad is giving them. All right. Sometimes you can, if you have already noticed that you are constantly in reactive mode, another thing you can do is put it in your phone as a reminder throughout the day of who is doing the doing. Is it me that is reactive, or is it me that is connected to the vision I have for my family? Be, do, have. If I'm being reactive, I'm going to do the yelling. I'm going to do the punishment. I'm going to do the things that you don't want to do. And then you're going to feel regret and shame around it all. So just start really checking in throughout the day, because it is really challenging to shift right away unless you're giving yourself opportunities to start practicing that. Cool? Awesome. Okay, so vision complete. You guys all have your vision. The second distinction, the second component, it sounds kind of too simple. Like every time I support my clients with this, they're like, literally pause. And what do I mean when I say pause? I mean interrupting your automatic. Everyone here knows if you have a child that has been a toddler, there is that specific tone of voice that feels like nails on a chalkboard, okay? Now, if your automatic reaction to that is to yell, or if your automatic reaction to that is to discipline or isolate or overreact, this is where it's a really great opportunity to pause. And I know you're like, what do you mean pause? Because have you ever worked with kids? They don't pause. They are nonstop. They just go, 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 go. There are ways that you can pause in the moment that take no time at all, but it gives you an opportunity to reorient. Again, who's doing the doing? So giving you an opportunity in that moment to stop and Stop enabling the patterns that continue the conflict, but choose something new. Okay? So this is for those moments when you get triggered. Have you ever been triggered by your kids? Raise your hand. If you're a parent, if you're breathing, you should have your hand up. Okay. So usually when you're triggered, it yields a reaction towards your child that you are not proud of at all. Like you afterwards, you are probably reflecting and you're like, oh, I hate that I did that because that was my mom or that was my dad. Or I just wish that I had the tools to figure out how to respond to that. And so this is the difference between reacting and responding, all right? Because responding gives you an opportunity to identify what's coming up for you. Because your kid yelling is not the thing that's triggering you. And so giving you an opportunity to start building awareness and reflecting on that trigger. Is it anxiety? Are you overwhelmed? Are you doubting your abilities as a parent? Like your kid's not listening to you, that therefore you must be a crappy mom, right? So all of those narratives that are actually fueling the reaction. So the power of the pause will allow you to ground and access something called neutrality. All right? Being neutral, meaning that you are available for anything. And that will allow you to better attune to your child and respond more mindfully. So I want you to write this down because I'm going to give you an equation that will really support you in those high stress, challenging moments, but you've got to practice it. So everyone write this down. E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. This is literally like everything. I feel like this could change the way that we raise kids completely. And it's just 3 letters. All right. E plus R equals O. Does anyone want to take a guess at what the E stands for? Arjuna, am I saying your name properly? Okay.
Yes. Emotion.
Emotion. Close. But good guess. Thank you for guessing. Yes. E, I'll give it to you because that way it'll be easier for you to build the rest of the equation. E is event. The event. It could be the event, the experience, the environment itself. E. Okay. So E is the event. And I will tell you something that the event itself is always neutral. Your kid yelling is neutral. Your kid hitting their sibling is neutral. Your kid lying is neutral. The way what happens is that we make up a story. We make up what that means. Okay, we give meaning to the event, which informs our reaction. Okay, you guys are already doing it. So the R is reaction or response. Okay, so what that means is there's an event. Okay, your kid breaks your vase, your cherished heirloom vase. All right, that's the event. Now the R is reaction or response. Now a reaction would be, I can't believe you did that, like screaming, like, ah, go to your room. The response could be after you take a breath, after you access neutrality, and you support your child because they must have a big emotion. They must have something that they're experiencing. And you know what? They can learn how to have remorse and be apologetic without us forcing it down their throat. Okay. So yes, you already said it too. O is outcome. So the event plus your reaction to it equals the outcome you create, AKA the environment, the energy, the vision, right? Or lack of. Now, where the plus sign is, that is where you pause. What does this look like, right? It would really support you to create a tangible way to pause, right? Because if your kid is kicking and screaming, you can't just like go into your room, like, I need to take 5 minutes. Hold on a second. You can't do that, right? That's not realistic. So if you have tangible ways to practice pause, It's like a somatic meaning in your body, ways to access neutrality. This will really support you in those high stress, challenging moments where you usually go straight to yelling, usually go straight to whatever the thing is that you don't want to do anymore. So really simple ways you can rock, where you feel your feet literally going back and forth on the floor. It will start to signal to you that you are not in a dangerous environment. Because the reason we react is because you are also in fight or flight, right? They trigger that in you. And so if you start to self-soothe by, you can rock, there's anchoring practices where you can, if your feeling is at its most intense, you can create a physical association by making a gesture. So you can squeeze your fist, you can squeeze your thumb, you can press your middle finger and your thumb together, you can pull your earlobes, whatever that is for you, you can start associating with like being in those high stress moments, and it will pause you. Okay. And it will take over so you can start to create new pathways, new patterns. All right. What also you can do is push your hands together, create that sensory awareness. Have you heard of Mel Robbins? I'm sure you have. Have you heard of the 5-second rule? Yes. Okay. So literally counting down from 5, you can even do it out loud. It might actually be helpful. It might give your kid an opportunity to calm themselves down too, because it really just it lowers your level of reactivity, just counting down from 5. And this will be challenging if you've been reactive up until now. All right. You can do breathing, like literally just one round of box breath. It's what, 20 seconds? In for 5, hold for 5, out for 5, hold for 5. And that will signal to your body that you are safe. And when you are safe, you can be safe for them. Does that make sense? Does that correlate? So awesome. If you already know what your practice is going to be for pausing, write it in the chat. I want to see what you are committed to practicing. Is it box breathing? Is it rocking? Is it anchoring? What is it? The 5-second rule? Breathing. Okay, amazing. It's crazy what we can do with our breath. 5 taps on my heart with breath. Yes, beautiful. Butterfly taps. Amazing. And what I would say is start practicing it when you're not in those high stress environments, because it will be much easier to access when you are. Just like when you teach your kids how to regulate their emotions, you're not going to teach them regulation when they are in full meltdown. You teach them how to access those strategies when they are calm, just like you. They're not that different from us. They just have very unfiltered emotional expression. All right, amazing, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so the third and final component, it comes down to regulation. All right, this is not something that we are taught about in school, and it gets to be because it's very, very important, which is like literally what I was talking about when you get triggered and when you go into fight or flight mode, learning how to regulate yourself before you regulate them, because a dysregulated parent cannot support or soothe or calm or help a dysregulated child. It just can't happen. All right. It's like the back ends of magnets. So it's really important to learn as parents how to be regulated. Like when I work one-on-one with families, this is most of the work that we do, is because there's a lot in us because of our childhood that will it will get flagged. This is what I call it. It gets flagged, it gets triggered. And we're looking at our kids like, how do I support and regulate you? But I myself am not at baseline, right? And raise your hand if you've been there. You're like, I want to help you, but I am so far. Yeah. Okay, great. So this is how we create a safe space for our kids to land, because a lot of us did not have a safe space to land. All right. And it sounds simple, but we've got decades and centuries of programming that makes it really hard to do in the heat of the moment. When our kids are screaming, things are out of control, the dishes are piling, the dog is barking, and there's all this stimulus. It's really easy to get overwhelmed, but those are the moments that they need us the most. And so we got to have ourselves so that we can have our kids, and put your oxygen mask on first. That's why they say that. You got to put your oxygen mask on first. And this comes back to reparenting ourselves, parenting ourselves so that we can parent them. All right. When you start to develop that that relationship with your body, where you feel that trigger, you feel what I like to call it is your adapted child. Okay. When you feel triggered, when you feel like something's taken over you that's not you, chances are that it is your inner child that did not get their needs met when you were at X age. Okay. So when you know that, you can start to be with yourself in such a way that's not blaming your trigger on your kids, but in full ownership that this is my trigger and I get to work on this. So when you utilize your body, meaning you're listening, you feel yourself, it always happens in your body. So it's like maybe your palms get sweaty, maybe your heart rate starts picking up, maybe your breath gets really short. Whatever that is for you is your fight or flight state. And so the best way you can teach your kids how to regulate is literally regulating yourself. They learn more from watching you than they do from listening to you. So when you allow yourself to be the model of the growth, it allows both of you to grow together. Okay. And you can use a script, very simple. So that way it's like you're not feeling triggered because your kid. You're feeling triggered because this happened. And when this happens, I fill in the conversation, the story. So for example, I felt reactive when Sally wasn't listening. And when he doesn't listen, I feel like I don't matter, or I feel like I'm doing a bad job at raising my kids, or I'm raising bad kids, right? Like fill in all of that because that's yours. None of that is true, but we attach meaning to kids not listening, to the bad behavior, right? And it has nothing to do with us. So if we start to really do the work of taking on those stories that we're making up, that will be the best thing you can do for your kids because they learn more through co-regulation, literally modeling it, than us teaching it to them. Because if you're trying to teach them regulation, but you don't have the tools to regulate for yourself, you're going to be going around and around on this carousel forever. Because we cannot continue putting the responsibility of showing up a certain way on our kids, like calm, if we are the ones responsible for generating that outcome. E plus R equals O. Okay. So what do we need? What does our inner child need to achieve a different outcome? And so this is when we start owning these subconscious beliefs that quote unquote make you a good parent. That's all yours. Does that make sense? Like nod your head if you're getting this. Okay, great. Now you're probably like, okay, so what the F do I do to model regulation if you aren't already? All right. Again, you can use physical prompts to support you in that pause. Be with yourself. Journaling is a big one. Like journaling those patterns that continue to come up for you. Why does it piss me off so much when he doesn't put his spoon in the sink or when he, doesn't listen to me? It's a lot deeper than the behavior itself. And it doesn't matter how much work you've done. If you've done a lot of personal development work, children will always mirror back to us the parts of us that need to heal. And sometimes it's just like literally checking in with your inner child. What does my little boy or my little girl need to hear in this moment? Like, you're safe. I got you. You don't need to be afraid anymore. Because when you get angry, what's behind anger is fear. And so being really curious about what your fears are that are driving your anger, and being willing to let them go, to be with yourself in a way that is kind, especially if you weren't treated with kindness as a kid. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Beautiful. Those 3 things, if you implement those 3 things, I promise you, your results will shift so quickly, because you will now be on an intentional and mindful path to conscious families, to the environment that you have longed for, the reason that you became a parent in the first place. So before we move on to what's next, I want everyone to like sit with this, drop in the chat. What is the biggest thing that you're taking away so far? Because this was a lot of information, and I will be sending the recording if I spoke too fast and you need to go back. And B, do have the family vision. Yes. Practice. It's never about the child. It's not. It's never about the child. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And if you're still thinking of yours, that's totally okay. But the important piece is be do have and the pause. The important piece is that you are clear on what steps you are going to take from this, where you're going to go. The first 2 was vision and pause. And I'll send you the recording as well, Robbie, so that you have that information. Excuse me. So good. It's so good. Like, kids have a job, and their job is to push up against us, to push the boundary, to be the fullest expression of themselves. And for us, having been conditioned in this society for X amount of years, we are like, it's jarring to see that level of expression, but it's actually the most healthy. I always say, like, we are supposed to learn from them just as much as they learn from us. They are showing us how to live, and we just get to remember. For me personally, like, my expression was always hushed and minimized and shut down. And so now I had, like, growing up, or like a few years back when I started this work, I'm like, oh, that's why I find it so hard to emote, to be open with my emotions, because they were made wrong. When we have to let them out, otherwise they just sit inside of us and get all icky. So this is my mission, obviously, as you know. My hope is to change the framework that we use to raise kids. And we've gone over the top 3 things that you can really just implement right away to get started. Something that I'm really excited about that I get to share is that I have been working with families for so long now, and I realized that something that comes up a lot for parents is the time. And like, when do you have time ever? Like, you have your full schedule, you have your work, you have your kids. And so I put a lot of work into creating an accessible training series for you as parents to access that is a no-brainer. So this is actually the first of 6 trainings in the series. We'll be starting on February 12th, and it's going to be this time every Monday. And having worked with families for as long as I have, what I've done is I've created a training that goes into each pain point that I have heard from families. So getting my kids to listen, behavior basics, what is emotional intelligence and nervous system regulation? What is the role of reparenting myself? Why is it important? And another big one that's relatively new is like, what is the mindful use of technology? How do I build that relationship with screens? Because we are evolving, and that is going to be a thing. And so It is it's $1,000 value, but I'm offering it to this workshop specifically for $297. If that's something that you guys are wanting to experience, be a part of, it's going to be there. I just put it in the chat. Basically, we'll have this group experience. You will have access to me. You're going to have group access for communal support where you guys will be implementing and integrating new things every single week and get real-time feedback and real-time support. And it's something that I'm really, really excited because I have been behind the scenes. Just, they say it takes a village to raise kids, right? But like, where the F is the village, you know what I mean? And so this is my attempt to create that village. And for those of you that are like, this is great information, I'm just going to sit with this. I'm so glad that you were here. I hope that you take this and run with it and create a beautiful environment for your families. And also I do offer one-on-one. So if you're curious about creating like an individualized program where I will work with you weekly to integrate and make sure that everything is going well, you can reach out to me as well for that. I can put in my booking link as well. And there. But obviously, like, I'm just so glad that you guys are here because you may or may not be at a breaking point and like know that something's got to give. And you're the people that I'm so excited to work with. You're the reason I wake up in the morning. Like, I am just so honored to be a part of changing the way that we raise kids, because my little girl, every time I work with a family, feels just very fulfilled and yeah, like healed in that. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to stay on and answer those. But with that, we're complete. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are amazing. Good luck with integrating all of that.
Thank you very much. This was great.